Hi there, my name is Toby, and on this channel I want to share with you something very new and I think very exciting. I'm trying to share a new approach to using your body. How can we get the most out of our body by putting in the least amount of work? And how can we derive benefits from the things we have to do all day long? In other words, I've got to stand around, I've got to sit around, I've got to do the work I've got to do. But how can I make use of that work? Now, the only way I can do that is if I improve the way I use my body. If I use my body in a better way whilst doing all these things, they all become useful exercises to me. I can derive benefits in doing the things that I have to do all day long anyway. So it's not so much about what you do with your body as how you do it. This is about improving the way we use our body. And this brings benefits across the board, dramatic benefits. And it boils down to two things. We've got to improve our body structure, our body alignment, and this requires a certain amount of tension. We've got to hold our body in the correct position, and it requires relaxation. We've got to learn how to relax so we can flow our body through easy movements. So I call this training body efficiency training, and in this video I'm going to be working on the shoulder joint, and this is a new way of using your shoulders, so stick with me. By the end of this video I think you're going to have a totally new idea of how to use your joints, and it's an important idea because we've got to create strength. And how do we create strength without really doing any much more work? So I'm building strength in the shoulder joints, but I'm not lifting weights to do it. I'm using my joints in a particular way to create that strength, and that particular way I call structural isometrics. So here's the exercise here. You can see the movement. My arms come up and back, and then I stretch my arms forward. So it's a simple, obvious movement. But what I'm doing is not obvious at all. I'm trying to utilize the shoulder joint. Now, I've done a few videos on the hips, so go back and look at the hips as well. And it really boils down to three things. The first thing we train is the spine. Once you've got the spine, then you train the hips. Once we've got the hips, then we train the shoulders. So between the spine, the hips and the shoulders, we can generate all sorts of structures and all sorts of strength in the body, as well as all types of movement through the body. And this is a way of doing it where we can achieve an effortless strength and an effortless way of moving. So let's talk through it. Here's the movement. So the arms go forward and the arms go back. And it's ever so simple. We've all seen this movement before. So what am I doing differently? Well, when I go back, I'm lifting up the rib cage, lifting up the shoulders, and pulling them back as far as possible. I'm trying to open up and stretch the rib cage and stretch the shoulders in the socket, in the shoulder joint here, all the way back, even look up to get a stretch. Now, as I push my arms forward, I'm trying to keep my shoulders up and back where they are. So I pull my shoulders up and back, pull my rib cage up and back, try and keep it there as I extend my arms forward. So what happens is a strong dynamic tension is created in the shoulder joints. I'm trying to keep them up and back, but as the arms go forward, they want to go down and forward with the arms, but I've got to resist that. So as the arms go out, the tension in the shoulder joint increases, and at the point the arms reach the maximum extension, the shoulders have locked up tighter and tighter, very, very tight, but they're in their mid position. Because I held them up and back, and I'm trying to keep them up and back, they don't go all the way forward. I'm not projecting my shoulders forward. They're only reaching the mid position relative to the spine at the end. But at that mid position, they have reached maximum isometric tension. The arms and the shoulders have locked up tight. There's not much work happening in the hands and the elbows. This is all in the rib cage and the shoulders and the spine. And you will also notice that you can't quite straighten out your arms. If you try to keep your shoulders up and back as your arms go forward, you can't quite straighten them. You're trying to straighten them, but you are resisting by lifting up your shoulders up and back, and that stops them straightening up. So what you're doing is the further away your arms go, the closer they get to being straight, the tighter it becomes, so you can't reach the full extension. And this is the point I'm trying to make. We want to reach towards an extension, but the closer we get to the extension, the greater the isometric tension, so you can't get there. And this is how we train. This is how I'm training. So I'm training isometric tension. This will strengthen up the shoulders, but it will strengthen up the ligaments, the tendons in the shoulders, because I'm moving the shoulders in the socket. And this is key. This is one of the differences. The way I'm using my body is I'm using the joints, not so much the muscles. My focus is on the joints. So I work the spine, I work the hips, I work the shoulders, and we're going to do the elbows, the knees, the wrists and the ankles as well, right out to the fingers and toes in time. But in this video I want you to understand the shoulders. If you can understand how to lock up your shoulders in this strong posture, this creates dramatic strength to your body with relatively little effort. Now there is some effort. The effort is in the isometric tension, but actually it's a pleasure. When you get this right, it feels nice because you are stretching your shoulders. You're stretching your shoulders. They feel like they're stretching under this tension. It's not a dead tension. It's not a muscular tension. It's a stretching tension. Even though your arms are bent, your shoulders are in their mid position, so apparently they haven't stretched anywhere, but it feels like a stretch. You are creating a stretch as you pull your shoulders back and push them forward. And once you've got the hang of that, you can also try under a little bit of pressure. Like here, I'm leaning against the wall. Now it's a bit like a push-up, but we're not really doing a push-up. This is the shoulder joint and the spine. So as I go down, I'm really trying to lift up my shoulders and pull them back. Lift up the rib cage, expand the rib cage and pull the rib cage back. So there's a slight arch in the spine. And then as I extend the arms forward, I'm trying to keep the shoulders up and back and just create this isometric tension in the shoulder joint. So the wall is irrelevant to me. I'm pushing something, but that is irrelevant. I'm trying to do the exact same exercise I was doing earlier. And now even more power, I can put one foot forward and start to drive a push into the wall. So I'm driving a push with my lower body structure from my hips through my spine and into this isometric tension in the shoulders. Now I've got an arch in the spine, and you might think this is not correct. I ought to have a straight spine, and other people might teach it that way, but I think this is the correct way because I've got a natural arch in the spine, and I've practiced this in all different ways, and my conclusion is this is the best one, the most efficient one. I'm trying to hold a natural curve. There should be a slight curve in the lumbar, but I'm counteracting that by pulling in the belly, the TA muscle and the obliques. So I'm working the abdominals at the same time, and this holds the spine in its natural position. Then I'm creating the isometric tension in the shoulders to create a push, and the same in the hips. I'm actually pushing from the hips. So this is structural isometrics, trying to use my structure to create force. And it's not so much the muscles, it's the bones. Okay, I hope this made sense, and check out these other videos here on the hips and the shoulders. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.